Listen, reflect, and rest in the Word. Welcome to Grace in Words. One, the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. 2, as they traveled east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there. 3, they said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. 4, they said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top reaches to the sky, and let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." 5, Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. 6, Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them, which they intend to do." 7, come, let's go down, and they're confused, their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. 8, so Yahweh scattered them abroad from there, on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. 9, therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. From there Yahweh scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. 10, this is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. 11, Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 12, Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. 13, Arpachshad lived for 103 years after he became the father of Shelah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 14, Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. 15, Shelah lived for 103 years after he became the father of Eber, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 16, Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. 17, Eber lived for 130 years after he became the father of Peleg, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 18, Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. 19, Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 20, Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. 21, Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 22, Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nar. 23, Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nar, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 24, Nar lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. 25, Nar lived 119 years after he became the father of Terah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 26, Terah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Nar, and Haran. 27, now this is the history of the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nar, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. 28, Haran died in the land of his birth in Ur of the Chaldees, while his father Terah was still alive. 29, Abram and Nar married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. 30. Sarai was barren. She had no child. 31. Terah took Abram his son, Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. They went from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. 32. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. 1. The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. 2. As they traveled east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there. 3. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. 4. They said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top reaches to the sky, and let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." 5. Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. 6. Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them, which they intend to do." 7. Come, let's go down, and they're confused their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. 8. So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there, on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. 9. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. From there Yahweh scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. 10. This is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. 11. Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 12. Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. 13. Arpachshad lived for 103 years after he became the father of Shelah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 14. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. 15. Shelah lived for 103 years after he became the father of Eber, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 16. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. 17. Eber lived for 130 years after he became the father of Peleg, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 18. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. 19. Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 20. Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. 21. Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 22. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nar. 23. Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nar, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 24. Nar lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. 25. Nar lived 119 years after he became the father of Terah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. 26. Terah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Nar, and Haran. 27. Now this is the history of the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nar, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. 28. Haran died in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldees, while his father Terah was still alive. 29. Abram and Nar married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nar's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. 30. Sarai was barren. She had no child. 31. Terah took Abram his son, Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. They went from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. 32. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. One. Abram went up out of Egypt, he, his wife, all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. 2. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. 3. He went on his journeys from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. 4. To the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first, there Abram called on Yahweh's name. 5. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks, herds, and tents. 6. The land was not able to bear them, that they might live together, for their possessions were so great that they couldn't live together. 7. There was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites lived in the land at that time. 8. Abram said to Lot, "Please, let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are relatives." 9. Isn't the whole land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right hand, then I will go to the left. 10. Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar. 11. So Lot chose the plain of the Jordan for himself. Lot traveled east, and they separated themselves from one another. 12. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain, and moved his tent as far as Sodom. 13. Now the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinners against Yahweh. 14. Yahweh said to Abram, after Lot was separated from him, "Now lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward." 15. For I will give all the land which you see to you and to your offspring forever. 16. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring may also be counted. 17. Arise, walk through the land in its length and in its width, for I will give it to you. 18. Abram moved his tent, and came, and lived by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to Yahweh. 1. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim. 2. They made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shember, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. 3. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, also called the Salt Sea. 4. They served Kedorlaomer for 12 years, and in the 13th year they rebelled. 5. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer came, and the kings who were with him, and struck the Rephaim and Ashtaroth Karanaim, the Zuzim and Ham, the Amim and Shaveh Kiriathaim. 6. And the Horites in their Mount Seir, to Elbron, which is by the wilderness. 7. They returned, and came to En-Mishpat, also called Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who lived in Hazaz and Tamar. 8. The king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar, went out. And they set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim. 9. Against Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, and Arioch king of Elasar, and Amraphel king of Shinar, for kings against 5. 10. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and some fell there, those who remained fled to the hills. 11. They took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and went their way. 12. They took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who lived in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. 13. One who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he lived by the oaks of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they were allies to Abram. 14. When Abram heard that his relative was taken captive, he led out his trained men, born in his house, 318, and pursued as far as Dan. 15. He divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and struck them, and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. 16. He brought back all the goods, and also brought back his relative Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the other people. 17. The king of Sodom went out to meet him, after his return from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. 18. Melchizedek king of Salem brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. 19. He blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. 20. Blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. Abram gave him 1/10 of all. 21. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. 22. Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to Yahweh, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. 23. That I will not take a thread nor a sandal strap nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. 24. I will accept nothing from you except that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. 1. After these things Yahweh's word came to Abram in a vision, saying, Don't be afraid, Abram, I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. 2. Abram said, Lord Yahweh, what will you give me, since I go childless, and he who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus? 3. Abram said, Behold, to me you have given no children, and, behold, one born in my house is my heir. 4. Behold, Yahweh's word came to him, saying, This man will not be your heir, but he who will come out of your own body will be your heir. 5. Yahweh brought him outside, and said, Look now toward the sky, and count the stars, if you are able to count them. He said to Abram, So will your offspring be. 6. He believed in Yahweh, who credited it to him for righteousness. 7. He said to Abram, I am Yahweh who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give you this land to inherit it. 8. He said, Lord Yahweh, how will I know that I will inherit it? 9. He said to him, Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. 10. He brought him all these, and divided them in the middle, and laid each half opposite the other, but he didn't divide the birds. 11. The birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. 12. When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Now terror and great darkness fell on him. 13. He said to Abram, Know for sure that your offspring will live as foreigners in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them. They will afflict them for 100 years. 14. I will also judge that nation, whom they will serve. Afterward they will come out with great wealth. 15. But you will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. 16. In the 4th generation they will come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. 17. It came to pass that, when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. 18. In that day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your offspring, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. 19. The land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites. 20. The Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim. 21. The Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bore him no children. She had a servant, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. 2. Sarai said to Abram, See now, Yahweh has restrained me from bearing. Please go into my servant. It may be that I will obtain children by her. Abram listened to Sarai's voice. 3. Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abram her husband to be his wife. 4. He went into Hagar, and she conceived. When she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. 5. Sarai said to Abram, This wrong is your fault. I gave my servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and you. 6. But Abram said to Sarai, Behold, your maid is in your hand. Do to her whatever is good in your eyes. Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her face. 7. Yahweh's angel found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. 8. He said, Hagar, Sarai's servant, where did you come from? Where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarai. 9. Yahweh's angel said to her, Return to your mistress, and submit yourself under her hands. 10. Yahweh's angel said to her, I will greatly multiply your offspring, that they will not be counted for multitude. 11. Yahweh's angel said to her, Behold, you are with child, and will bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh has heard your affliction. 12. He will be like a wild donkey among men, his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He will live opposite all of his brothers. 13. She called the name of Yahweh who spoke to her, You are a God who sees, for she said, Have I even here seen him who sees me? 14. Therefore the well was called Bir-lahai-roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. 15. Hagar bore a son for Abram. Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. 16. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless. 2. I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. 3. Abram fell on his face. God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You will be the father of a multitude of nations. 5. Your name will no longer be called Abram, but your name will be Abraham. For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. 6. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you. Kings will come out of you. 7. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offspring after you. 8. I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land where you are traveling, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. I will be their God. 9. God said to Abraham, As for you, you will keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. 10. This is my covenant, which you will keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. 11. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. It will be a token of the covenant between me and you. 12. He who is 8 days old will be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations, he who is born in the house, or bought with money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. 13. He who is born in your house, and he who is bought with your money, must be circumcised. My covenant will be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. 14. The uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. 15. God said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but her name will be Sarah. 16. I will bless her, and moreover I will give you a son by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. 17. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Will a child be born to him who is 100 years old? Will Sarah, who is 90 years old, give birth. 18. Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." 19. God said, "No, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him." 20. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. 21. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this set time next year. 22. When he finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. 23. Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same day, as God had said to him. 24. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. 25. Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. 26. In the same day both Abraham and Ishmael, his son, were circumcised. 27. All the men of his house, those born in the house, and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. One. Yahweh appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. 2. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and saw that 3 men stood opposite him. When he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the earth. 3. And said, "My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, please don't go away from your servant." 4. Now let a little water be fetched, wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. 5. I will get a morsel of bread so you can refresh your heart. After that you may go your way. Now that you have come to your servant. They said, "Very well, do as you have said." 6. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, "Quickly prepare 3 seahs of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes." 7. Abraham ran to the herd, and fetched a tender and good calf, and gave it to the servant. He hurried to dress it. 8. He took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. He stood by them under the tree, and they ate. 9. They said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" He said, "There in the tent." 10. He said, "I will certainly return to you when the season comes round. Behold, Sarah your wife will have a son." Sarah heard in the tent door, which was behind him. 11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age. Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. 12. Sarah laughed within herself, saying, "After I have grown old will I have pleasure, my Lord being old also." 13. Yahweh said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Will I really bear a child when I am old?" 14. Is anything too hard for Yahweh? At the set time I will return to you, when the season comes round, and Sarah will have a son. 15. Then Sarah denied, saying, "I didn't laugh, for she was afraid." He said, "No, but you did laugh." 16. The men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom. Abraham went with them to see them on their way. 17. Yahweh said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I do?" 18. since Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed in him. 19. For I have known him to the end that he may command his children and his household after him, that they may keep the way of Yahweh to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Yahweh may bring on Abraham that which he has spoken of him. 20. Yahweh said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. 21. I will go down now, and see whether their deeds are as bad as the reports which have come to me. If not, I will know. 22. The men turned from there, and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before Yahweh. 23. Abraham came near, and said, will you consume the righteous with the wicked? 24. What if there are 50 righteous within the city? Will you consume and not spare the place for the 50 righteous who are in it? 25. Be it far from you to do things like that, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be like the wicked. May that be far from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth do right? 26. Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare the whole place for their sake. 27. Abraham answered, see now, I have taken it on myself to speak to the Lord, although I am dust and ashes. 28. What if there will lack 5 of the 50 righteous? Will you destroy all the city for lack of 5? He said, I will not destroy it, if I find 45 there. 29. He spoke to him yet again, and said, what if there are 40 found there? He said, I will not do it for the 40's sake. 30. He said, well, don't let the Lord be angry, and I will speak. What if there are 30 found there? He said, I will not do it, if I find 30 there. 31. He said, see now, I have taken it on myself to speak to the Lord. What if there are 20 found there? He said, I will not destroy it for the 20's sake. 32. He said, well, don't let the Lord be angry, and I will speak just once more. What if 10 are found there? He said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. 33. Yahweh went his way, as soon as he had finished communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. One. The 2 angels came to Sodom at evening. Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. Lot saw them, and rose up to meet them. He bowed himself with his face to the earth. 2. And he said, see now, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house, stay all night, wash your feet, and you will rise up early, and go on your way. They said, no, but we will stay in the street all night. 3. He urged them greatly, and they turned into him, and entered into his house. He made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. 4. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. 5. They called to Lot, and said to him, where are the men who came into you this night? Bring them out to us, that we may have sex with them. 6. Lot went out to them to the door, and shut the door after him. 7. He said, please, my brothers, don't act so wickedly. 8. See now, I have 2 virgin daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you do to them what is good in your eyes. Only don't do anything to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof. 9. They said, stand back, They said, "This one fellow came in to live as a foreigner, and he appoints himself a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." They pressed hard on the man Lot, and came near to break the door. 10. But the men put out their hand, and brought Lot into the house to them, and shut the door. 11. They struck the men who were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. 12. The men said to Lot, "Do you have anybody else here? Sons-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of the place." 13. For we will destroy this place, because the outcry against them has grown great before Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy. 14. Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters, and said, "Get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh will destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be joking. 15. When the morning arose, then the angels hurried Lot, saying, "Arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the iniquity of the city." 16. But he lingered, and the men grabbed his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful to him. And they took him out, and set him outside of the city. 17. It came to pass, when they had brought them out, that he said, "Escape for your life. Don't look behind you, and don't stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed." 18. Lot said to them, "Oh, not so, my lord." 19. See now, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown to me in saving my life. I can't escape to the mountain, lest evil overtake me, and I die. 20. See now, this city is near to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there, isn't it a little one, and my soul will live. 21. He said to him, "Behold, I have granted your request concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken." 22. Hurry, escape there, for I can't do anything until you get there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. 23. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. 24. Then Yahweh rained on Sodom and on Gomorrah sulfur and fire from Yahweh out of the sky. 25. He overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew on the ground. 26. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. 27. Abraham went up early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. 28. He looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and saw that, behold, the smoke of the land went up as the smoke of a furnace. 29. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the middle of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. 30. Lot went up out of Zoar, and lived in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him. For he was afraid to live in Zoar. He lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. 31. The firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on the earth to come into us in the way of all the earth." 32. Come, let's make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve our father's offspring. 33. They made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in, and lay with her father. He didn't know when she lay down, nor when she arose. 34. It came to pass on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let's make him drink wine again tonight. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve our father's offspring. 35. They made their father drink wine that night also. The younger went in and lay with him. He didn't know when she lay down, nor when she arose. 36. Thus both of Lot's daughters were with child by their father. 37. The firstborn bore a son, and named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. 38. The younger also bore a son, and named him Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. One. Abraham traveled from there toward the land of the south, lived between Kadesh and Shur. He lived as a foreigner in Gerar. 2. Abraham said about Sarah his wife, She is my sister. Abimelech king of Gerar sent, and took Sarah. 3. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, you are a dead man, because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. 4. Now Abimelech had not come near her. He said, Lord, will you kill even a righteous nation? 5. Didn't he tell me, She is my sister as she, even she herself said, He is my brother, in the integrity of my heart, and the innocence of my hands have I done this. 6. God said to him in the dream, Yes, I know that in the integrity of your heart you have done this, and I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore I didn't allow you to touch her. 7. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. If you don't restore her, know for sure that you will die, you and all who are yours. 8. Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things in their ear. The men were very scared. 9. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done to us? How have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that ought not to be done. 10. Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you see, that you have done this thing? 11. Abraham said, Because I thought, Surely the fear of God is not in this place. They will kill me for my wife's sake. 12. Besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. 13. When God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, This is your kindness which you shall show to me. Everywhere that we go, say of me, He is my brother. 14. Abimelech took sheep and cattle, male servants and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and restored Sarah, his wife, to him. 15. Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you. 16. To Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, it is for you a covering of the eyes to all that are with you. In front of all you are vindicated. 17. Abraham prayed to God. God healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his female servants, and they bore children. 18. For Yahweh had closed up every womb of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.